The air buzzed with anticipation. Iqah and Yunus were weeks away from the arrival of their first child. They had chosen the name Syifa, a name that resonated with healing and hope. It was a name that reflected their own journey, their dreams woven into the fabric of their shared dream of Yaqeen.
Iqah, can you imagine? Soon we'll be holding Syifa in her arms.
Yunus, a skilled restaurant manager, was putting the finishing touches on their new restaurant, also to be named Syifa, a testament to their love and their aspirations. Iqah's heart swelled with love for him, for the life growing inside her, for the future they were building together. Their joy was contagious, their laughter echoing through the surrounding, a melody of hope and happiness. Their families shared in their excitement. Grandmothers buy tiny booties and sweaters, aunts prepared traditional delicacies, and uncles offered words of wisdom and support. The family embraced Iqah and Yunus, their love story woven into the very tapestry of their love. The day of the ultrasound dawned bright and promising. Iqah and Yunus, hand in hand, walked to the clinic, their hearts brimming with anticipation. They were eager to see their baby, to hear the reassuring heartbeat, to etch another memory in their journey towards parenthood.
Yunus and Iqah can't wait to see Syifa's little face on the screen.
The ultrasound technician smiled warmly, guiding Iqah through the familiar procedure. But as the images flickered on the screen, the smile faded. A hushed conversation between the technician and the doctor sent a chill down Iqah's spine. The doctor, his face etched with concern, explained the situation.
Iqah, you're an intrauterine hematoma, a blood clot that has formed in your uterus. It's critically uncommon, and it requires careful monitoring. Iqah need to rest, minimize stress, and come in for regular checkups.
The news hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. The joy they felt moments before evaporated, replaced by a knot of anxiety in the pit of Iqah's stomach. The image of the hematoma, a dark shadow lurking near their unborn child, seared itself into her mind. As they walked home, hand in hand, their silence spoke volumes. The weight of uncertainty pressed down on them, their dreams suddenly fragile, their future uncertain. Days turned into a blur of anxious waiting. Iqah, confined to bed rest, felt a constant fear gnawing at her. The fear for her child, for the unknown, for the future she and Yunus yearned for.
What if something happens to Syifa? Iqah can't stop worrying.
The ticking clock seemed to amplify her anxiety, each tick a painful reminder of their precarious situation. Yunus, torn between his responsibilities at the coming-soon restaurant and his devotion to Iqah, found himself stretched thin. Yunus tried to remain strong, to be the pillar of support Iqah needed, but the fear was a constant presence in his eyes.
Iqah, Yunus is here for you. They'll get through this together, I promise.
The conflict between faith and fear raged within Yunus. A devout Muslim, he found solace in prayer, beseeching Allah for Syifa's well-being. He sought guidance from the Imam, his heart heavy with worry.
Yunus, remember Allah's mercy. Faith is about surrendering to His will, trusting in His plan.
Yet the practicalities of their situation weighed heavily on Yunus's mind. The restaurant, their dream, was days away from its grand opening. Delaying the opening would be a financial setback. But how could he focus on the restaurant when his wife, his unborn child, were fighting for their lives? The conflict tore at him, a constant battle between faith and responsibility. Iqah, raised in a family where think positive intertwined with faith, found herself grappling with guilt and doubt. Her mother, sensing her daughter's turmoil, reassured her.
No, Iqah. Life is a tapestry woven with threads of joy and sorrow. Faith is about finding strength in adversity.
Each ultrasound appointment became a torturous ordeal. The anticipation, the fear, the desperate hope for good news, it was an emotional rollercoaster.
The silence in the room was deafening, punctuated only by the rhythmic thump of the ultrasound machine.
Iqah would lie on the examination table, her hand clutching Yunus's, her breath catching in her throat as the technician moved the transducer across her belly.
Some ultrasounds brought glimmers of hope. The hematoma, though still present, seemed to be shrinking. The baby, growing stronger each day, moved with reassuring vigor.
These moments brought tears of relief, renewed hope, and a surge of love for the tiny life growing inside her.
But there were also setbacks, days when the hematoma remained stubbornly unchanged, casting a long shadow over our joy.
These were dark days, filled with whispered fears, unspoken anxieties, and a gnawing dread that threatened to consume them. The fragility of life, the uncertainty of their situation, hung over them like a dark cloud. Through it all, the family remained their anchor. The aroma of spices, once a painful reminder of their stalled dreams, became a symbol of hope.
News of Iqah's condition spread through the friends like wildfire. People they hardly knew stopped by with well wishes, prayers, and traditional remedies.
Both family, their faces etched with concern, rallied around us.
Their sisters, their eyes filled with empathy, took over the household chores, making sure Iqah had everything Iqah needed.
The women of them, their faces weathered by hardship and resilience, offered Iqah a different kind of support. They shared stories of their own pregnancies, their own anxieties, their own triumphs over adversity.
They reminded Iqah that she was not alone, that her pain was their pain, that her hope was their hope.
As weeks turned into months, a sense of cautious optimism began to blossom. The ultrasound showed the hematoma steadily shrinking, a testament to Iqah's resilience and the power of collective prayers.
The baby, now nearing full passing critical term, was developing perfectly, her heartbeat a steady drumroll of hope. A collective sigh of relief swept through the wave of gratitude washing over.
Yunus, his shoulders lighter, his eyes brighter, threw himself into preparing the restaurant for its long-awaited opening. He named it Syifa, a tribute to his unborn daughter, a symbol of hope and healing.
The restaurant, once a source of anxiety, will represented resilience, faith, unwavering belief in a brighter future.
The aroma of spices, richer and more inviting than ever, wafted through, carrying with it the promise of a new beginning.
And then she arrived, a tiny 2 kilograms but mighty warrior, a testament to the strength and resilience of the human spirit. Syifa, her name echoing with hope and healing, filled their lives with a love they never knew existed.
Holding her in Iqah's arms for the first time, Iqah wept tears of joy and gratitude.
Iqah and Yunus, heart overflowing with love, looked at their daughter, Miracle Syifa, and knew that their struggles had been worth it.
The restaurant Syifa thrived, a hub of joy, a place where families gathered, where laughter mingled with the aroma of themes Syifa's culinary creations. It became a symbol of their journey, a testament to their faith, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope can blossom.
Syifa's birth marked a new chapter in lives, a chapter filled with love, laughter, and the unwavering belief that even in the face of adversity, faith, family, and community can heal even the deepest wounds.
And so, the story of Syifa, the little girl who brought tale of healing and hope, became woven into the lore of tales, a tale whispered from generation to generation, a timeless reminder of the enduring power of the human spirit. The miraculous Caesarean birth of Syifa. The tension in the air was palpable as the day of Syifa's expected arrival approached. Iqah had been under strict bed rest, her pregnancy shadowed by the persistent Intrauterine hematoma that had threatened to turn their joy into sorrow. Yunus had been her rock, his faith never wavering, his prayers constant, and his presence a soothing balm, even as they faced the unknown. The night before the planned Caesarean section, the couple found solace in their faith. They whispered prayers, surrounded by the comforting glow of light in their small prayer room. The verses of the Quran, particularly those speaking of healing and mercy, resonated with a new depth of meaning, the day of delivery. As dawn broke, they made their way to the hospital, the anticipation mixed with fear. The medical team was well aware of the hematoma, and the possibility of complications loomed large, but there was an undercurrent of hope. Every ultrasound had shown the hematoma shrinking, a sign perhaps of divine intervention. In the operating room, the atmosphere was charged with focus and a touch of reverence. The doctors prepared for the C-section with precision, knowing they were not just saving lives but witnessing a miracle. Iqah, under spinal anesthesia, felt the surreal calm before the storm, her hand tightly held by Yunus, who murmured prayers into her ear. The miracle unfolds. As the surgical team began, there was an unexpected silence. The usual sounds of medical urgency were replaced by a collective breath held. Then the moment arrived. A tiny cry pierced the quiet, a sound so pure it seemed to echo through the heavens. Syifa was born. Her arrival was not just a medical event, but a testament to faith, prayer, and the resilience of hope. The hematoma, which had been a dark cloud over their joy, had not led to the feared complications. Instead, as if guided by an unseen hand, the medical procedure went flawlessly. The doctors were astounded. The hematoma had resolved just enough to allow for a safe delivery. After the birth, in the recovery room, as Iqah held Syifa in her arms, the reality of their miracle sank in. The nurses, moved by the story, whispered among themselves of the miracle baby. Syifa, named for healing, seemed to embody the very essence of her name. Her birth was a beacon of light, not just for her family, but for all who heard of it. Community celebration. News of Syifa's miraculous birth spread like wildfire through the families and community around coming soon Syifa restaurant. The restaurant, which had been a symbol of cultural and spiritual fusion, became a place of pilgrimage for those who wished to celebrate this new life. A special restaurant where stories of faith, healing, and the power of community were shared. The legacy, Syifa's birth story, would be told and retold, becoming part of the restaurant's lore. Every dish served was now imbued with the tale of her arrival, a reminder of healing, hope, and the miraculous. The small restaurant's prayer room, a place for quiet reflection, became a symbol of answered prayers. Syifa grew up surrounded by stories of her birth, understanding early on the weight of her name. Syifa was not just a restaurant, but a legacy of faith, a narrative of how love, culture, and science could converge to create something truly miraculous. Conclusion. The miraculous Caesarean birth of Syifa was more than a medical event. It was a spiritual journey, an affirmation of faith, and a story of how hope can manifest into reality. It became a cornerstone for the restaurant's identity, a place where every meal served was not just nourishment but a celebration of life's miracles. The miraculous Caesarean birth of Syifa, an emotional odyssey. In the quiet of the night, as the world slept, Iqah lay awake, her hands gently caressing her belly where Syifa rested, a constant reminder of the life they had prayed for. Every flutter was a whisper of hope in the shadow of fear. Yunus beside her read verses from the Quran, his voice a lullaby of faith, soothing the storm of anxiety that the hematoma had brought into their lives. The day of reckoning. Morning brought the hospital's sterile light, a stark contrast to the warm hues of their home. As they walked through the hospital corridors, each step was heavy with the weight of what could be. The fear was palpable. It was etched in the lines of Yunus's forehead, the tremble in Iqah's voice as she whispered, "We'll meet our Syifa soon, won't we?" In the operating room, the air was thick with silent prayers. The medical team, aware of the stakes, moved with a precision that spoke of both expertise and empathy. Iqah, numbed by anesthesia yet acutely aware of the gravity of the moment, squeezed Yunus's hand, her eyes searching his for reassurance. He met her gaze with a tearful smile, his faith a beacon in the darkness. The cry of life. Then, amidst the tension, came a sound so fragile, so full of promise, the first cry of Syifa. It was like a sunbeam piercing through clouds. It shattered the fear, replacing it with an overwhelming surge of love and relief. The doctors, momentarily forgetting their clinical demeanor, shared in the joy, their faces mirroring the miracle they had just witnessed. As Syifa was placed in Iqah's arms, the world seemed to pause, Tears streamed down Yunus's face, not of sorrow but of a profound gratitude that words could scarcely capture. They had braced for loss, but here was life, vibrant and crying, a testament to their faith and the prayers that had woven around them like a protective cocoon. The aftermath of a miracle. In the quiet of the recovery room, the emotional tide ebbed, leaving behind a profound peace. Iqah looked at Syifa, her eyes tracing the delicate features, feeling an indescribable bond, a connection that transcended the physical. Yunus, his voice choked with emotion, whispered, "She's our miracle, our Syifa." Word of this miraculous birth spread, touching hearts across the community. At Syifa restaurant, a celebration was held, not just for the birth, but for the journey of faith and love. Patrons came not just for the food, but to partake in the story of healing and hope. The prayer room, once just a corner of the restaurant, now held a special reverence, a place where many came to reflect on the power of faith, a legacy of emotion. As Syifa grew, she embodied her name, healing. She was a constant reminder to Iqah and Yunus of the emotional abyss they had crossed, only to find joy on the other side. Stories of her birth were not just tales, they were lessons in resilience, faith, and love. The restaurant became more than a place to dine. It was a sanctuary where people felt the warmth of a community bound by shared humanity, where every meal was seasoned with the story of a miraculous birth. Conclusion. Syifa's birth was not just a chapter in their lives, but an emotional odyssey that would forever define the spirit of Syifa restaurant. It was a narrative of how love can heal, how faith can move mountains, and how from the depths of fear, the most profound joy can emerge. Their daughter's name would echo through the years, not just as a symbol of physical healing, but as a beacon of emotional and spiritual rejuvenation for all who knew of her miraculous arrival. Faith in childbirth, the journey of Syifa. Faith in its many forms often becomes a beacon during the profound and sometimes perilous journey of childbirth. For Iqah and Yunus, their faith was not just a spiritual practice, but a lifeline through the uncertainty and fear surrounding Syifa's birth. The anchor of faith. From the moment the intrauterine hematoma was discovered, faith became their anchor. The couple leaned into their Islamic beliefs, finding solace in the Quran, particularly in verses like Surah Al-Baqarah 2:186. "And when my servants ask you concerning me, indeed I am near. I respond to the invocation of the supplicant when he calls upon me." This verse spoke directly to their hearts, reinforcing the belief that Allah was listening, ever close during their trials. Prayer as a companion. Prayer was more than ritual, it was their constant companion. Yunus would pray not only in the mosque but at home, his voice a steady stream of supplications for safety, health and a miracle. Iqah, bound by her physical condition, found comfort in silent prayers, her heart reaching out to Allah for the well-being of Syifa. They held on to the promise of Surah Al-Mu'minun 23:14, which describes the creation of human life, reminding them of the divine plan in every heartbeat of their unborn child. Community and collective faith. Their faith extended beyond their home into the community. Friends, family, and even patrons of Syifa restaurant joined in communal prayers. The mosque near their home became a gathering place where prayers for Syifa were woven into the community's daily supplications. This collective faith created a network of spiritual support, embodying the Islamic principle of Ummah, where the community stands together in times of need. The role of faith in medical decisions. Faith influenced their medical journey as well. They sought doctors who respected their religious practices, ensuring that every medical decision was made with both medical science and spiritual well-being in mind. They saw the integration of faith and medicine not as contradictory, but as complementary, trusting in the doctors as healers while also placing their ultimate trust in Allah's will. The miracle of faith. When the day of the Caesarean came, it wasn't just a medical procedure. It was an act of faith. The operating room became a sacred space where science and spirituality met. The successful birth of Syifa was seen as a direct answer to their prayers, a tangible manifestation of faith's power. The joy was not just in the birth, but in the affirmation that their faith had been a guide, a protector, and perhaps a catalyst for the miracle they experienced. Faith after birth. Postpartum, their faith deepened. Every milestone of Syifa's life was celebrated not just as a biological event, but as a spiritual one. The naming ceremony was imbued with prayers for her health and righteousness. The community that had prayed for her now celebrated her, embedding faith into the very fabric of her upbringing. Legacy of faith. Syifa restaurant became a living testament to their journey. It was a place where faith was palpable, in the food prepared with gratitude, in the prayer room where many would come to seek peace, and in the stories shared of their daughter's miraculous birth. The restaurant stood not only as a culinary venture, but as a beacon of faith, demonstrating how belief can transcend personal challenges, turning them into opportunities for communal celebration and spiritual growth. Conclusion. Faith in childbirth, as experienced by Iqah and Yunus, was not merely about hoping for a safe delivery. It was about surrendering to a higher plan, finding strength in community, and witnessing the miraculous through the lens of belief. Syifa's birth was a narrative of faith's depth, showing how it can guide, console, and ultimately heal, leaving behind a legacy where every act, from cooking to praying, was an act of faith. The Quran outlines stages of fetal development. The Quran outlines stages of fetal development in a poetic yet scientifically consistent manner, reflecting the marvel of human creation. Here's how these stages can be interpreted in terms of modern embryology. Stages of fetal development as described in the Quran: nutfa, sperm drop or mixed drop; conception, Quranic verse, Surah Al-Mu'minun 23:13. Then we placed him as a sperm drop in a firm lodging. Modern interpretation. This refers to the initial stage where the sperm fertilizes the ovum, forming a zygote. The firm lodging alludes to the uterus where the fertilized egg implants. Alaka, clinging clot or leech-like substance. Implantation and early development, Quranic verse, Surah Al-Mu'minun 23:14. Then we made the sperm drop into a clinging clot. Modern interpretation. After implantation, the zygote develops into a blastocyst, which clings to the uterine wall. The term clot might refer to the clot-like appearance or the blood supply to the embryo. The leech-like stage signifies the embryo's attachment to the mother for nutrition. Muga, lump of chewed flesh. Differentiation, Quranic verse, Surah Al-Mu'minun 23:14. And we made the clot into a lump of flesh. Modern interpretation. This stage corresponds to the embryonic period where the embryo begins to take shape, with cells differentiating into various tissues and organs. It resembles a chewed substance due to the irregular shape of the embryo at this stage. Ithfam al-Izam, formation of bones. Skeletal development, Quranic verse, Surah Al-Mu'minun 23:14. And we made from the lump bones. Modern interpretation. During the fetal stage, the skeletal system begins to form, initially as cartilage which later ossifies into bone. Kisawa al-Izam bil-Lam, covering the bones with flesh. Muscular and connective tissue development, Quranic verse Surah Al-Mu'minun 23:14. And we covered the bones with flesh. Modern interpretation. Muscles and other connective tissues start enveloping the skeletal framework, giving shape to the fetus. Kalakar Akar Kalk, another creation. Organogenesis and maturation. Quranic verse, Surah Al-Mu'minun 23:14. Then we developed it into another creation. Modern interpretation. This stage refers to the further development where organs become functional and the fetus matures, growing in complexity with the nervous system, sensory organs, and other vital systems. Additional aspects, gestation period. The Quran mentions in Surah Al-Ahqaf 46:15 that the gestation period combined with weaning is 30 months, which, when considering modern understanding, might suggest the typical human pregnancy duration plus a period of nursing. Growth and maturation. Surah Al-Hajj 22:5. speaks of the fetus being settled in the womb for a specified term, which aligns with the idea that each pregnancy has a designated time for maturation before birth. These descriptions, while not providing a step-by-step biological account as modern science does, offer a profound reflection on the stages of human development from a spiritual and metaphysical perspective, emphasizing the miraculous nature of life's creation. They resonate with contemporary understanding of embryology and fetal development, showcasing the Quran's compatibility with scientific insights into human life's beginnings. Here's a more detailed scientific exploration of fetal development, correlating with the Quranic stages, but expanding with current scientific understanding. Stages of fetal development. 1. Conception and zygote formation. Scientific detail. After fertilization in the fallopian tube, the sperm and egg combine to form a zygote, which contains genetic material from both parents. This single cell starts dividing rapidly, moving towards the uterus. Quranic reference, nutfa. Then we placed him as a sperm drop in a firm lodging. Surah Al-Mu'minun 23:13-2. Blastocyst and implantation, scientific detail. By day 5, 6 post-fertilization, the zygote becomes a blastocyst, a hollow ball of cells with an inner cell mass that will develop into the embryo and an outer layer, trophoblast, that forms the placenta. It implants into the uterine lining around day 7. 10. Quranic reference Al-Aqah. Then we made the sperm drop into a clinging clot. Surah Al-Mu'minun 23:14. The term clinging clot reflects the blastocyst's attachment to the uterine wall. 3. Embryonic development, scientific detail. From week 3, 8, the embryo undergoes organogenesis. The neural tube, which gives rise to the brain and spinal cord, forms along with the heart, which begins to beat around day 22. Limb buds appear and organ rudiments start forming. Quranic reference, mudghah. And we made the clot into a lump of flesh. Surah Al-Mu'minun 23:14. This stage describes the embryo's growth and differentiation into various tissues. 4. Fetal stage. Skeletal development, scientific detail. By the end of the embryonic period, around week 8, the fetus begins. Bone formation starts with the conversion of cartilage into bone through ossification, which continues throughout pregnancy. Quranic reference, Ithfam al-Izam, and we made from the lump bones. Surah Al-Mu'minun 23:14. This refers to the skeletal development. 5. Muscular and organ maturation, scientific detail. Muscles begin to envelop the skeleton and organs start to function. By week 10, the fetus can move, though these movements are not yet felt by the mother. Organ systems like the liver, kidneys, and digestive system develop further. Quranic reference, Kisawa al-Izam bil-Lahm. And we covered the bones with flesh. Surah Al-Mu'minun 23:14, highlighting the development of muscles and organs. 6. Further maturation and growth. Scientific detail. From week 9 until birth, the fetus undergoes significant growth and refinement. By week 12, the fetus has all its major organs with ongoing maturation. Reflexes develop, and by 20 weeks, the mother can feel movements. Sensory organs like eyes and ears mature, and the brain develops rapidly. Quranic reference, Kalaka Akar Kalk. Then we developed it into another creation, Surah Al-Mu'minun 23:14. This refers to the complex maturation process. Additional scientific details, gestation period. Human gestation averages around 40 weeks, 280 days, from the last menstrual period, or 38 weeks from conception. The Quran mentions in Surah Al-Ahqaf 46:15 a combined period of pregnancy and nursing of 30 months, which aligns with modern understanding when considering nursing duration. Fetal viability. Typically around 24-28 weeks, a fetus can survive outside the womb with intensive medical care, though viability can vary based on health conditions and medical advances. Brain development. Neurons begin forming neural connections, and by the 3rd trimester, the brain undergoes significant growth, with synapses forming at a rapid rate, preparing for life outside the womb. Respiratory system lung development progresses with alveoli forming, and surfactant production, crucial for breathing, begins around week 24, increasing chances of survival if born prematurely. This detailed scientific description of fetal development complements the Quranic narrative by providing a nuanced understanding of how human life forms and grows within the womb, showcasing the harmony between ancient scriptural insight and modern biological science.